Convicted felon Donald Trump recently sat down for a softball interview with Fox propagandist Maria Bartiromo, in which he yet again waffled about whether he would debate Vice President Kamala Harris and demonstrated that he was in total denial about the disastrous state of the 2024 election and his campaign. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about in this video. So again, Trump sits down for a softball interview with Maria Bartiromo. They talk about a wide array of topics, and we're probably going to do a video about a separate topic later on. But I want to focus on this one, in which, again, Trump yet again waffles about whether or not he would debate the vice president and demonstrates a total denial about the current state of the race. We're going to play the clips and unpack them together.
And I'm not a fan of Biden. He's not a smart guy, never was. You can go back 30 years, he was never a smart guy. But she's not smart either. She's not a smart person.
Are you going to debate her?
Well, I want to. We're leading in the polls, it seems, by quite a bit still. She's better than he is, but I think ultimately she'll be worse than him. She's more radical than him. He was.
So again, Trump won't commit to debating her. He says, I want to. Well, then, Donald, it's pretty simple. You actually had a second debate lined up with President Biden in September on ABC, which you agreed to before either of you, Trump or Biden, were the nominees, the confirmed nominees. Trump is the confirmed nominee for the Republican Party. Vice President Harris is the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. There's no reason for you to, shirk this obligation that you committed to, this agreement that you committed to. The vice president says she will be there in September on the stage at ABC, and it's up to you whether or not you show up. It's all there. All the arrangements have been made. So if you really want to debate the vice president, it's right there for you. What else is there to talk about? Now, what's interesting, of course, is, when he instantly segues into the lie, and we will get to that lie because it is a blatant, egregious lie, that I'm leading by a lot in the polls. That was his excuse for not debating Governor Ron DeSantis or Chris Christie or Doug Burgum or Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley during the Republican primary. The thought process was, well, I'm so far ahead of them, I have no need politically to do it. And to be fair, politically speaking, that was true. He did. He was so far ahead of them, there was no need. Donald Trump is actually a terrible debater. He can't speak to substance. He can't answer questions directly. All he knows how to do is to insult. As a matter of fact, to the extent that people think that he won the most recent presidential debate against Vice President Biden, I would argue neither of them won it. They both performed terribly, but at least Biden engaged with the substance of the question and lied less than Trump. Trump is a terrible debater, and against somebody like the vice president, he will almost certainly lose. He has no excuse to appeal to polling now because the polling between him and the vice president is actually quite tight because he's lying about the polls. Again, we'll get into it. But I want to play one more clip, again, in which Maria Bartiromo tries to bring it back to debating the vice president.
On the debate, she's taunting you now. She's saying he doesn't want to debate me. Say it to my face, President Trump. That's what she said the other night.
Look, she's a third-rate candidate. She failed in her attempt against many other candidates. She was the first one to drop out. She never made Iowa. And that was when you had a normal press. Now you have a.
Well, why not debate her now? Again, if she's a third-rate candidate, if she's so easy to beat, just go in there and beat her, right? I mean, listen, again, before we get into debunking the lies that Trump just made about the current state of the election, I should tell you, I feel more confident about the race than I did prior to President Biden dropping out, but I don't think this is in the bag. I think it's entirely possible that we lose. Donald Trump won the 2016 presidential election against Hillary Clinton. You can say what you want about Hillary Clinton, but she was an experienced stateswoman. She was an experienced politician, and she was more popular than Trump. People want to talk about how unpopular Hillary Clinton was, but she beat him by 3 million votes in the popular vote. She was even more popular than Donald Trump, but he still won by way of the Electoral College, which of course is affirmative action for Republican politicians because of course they can't win the presidency on their own merits. So if he won in 2016, it's entirely possible he wins in 2024. I don't think any of us should count it out. I don't think any of us should get complacent or arrogant. But if I'm thinking to myself, if I really believed that Trump was so effortless to defeat, then I would be making different decisions than what Trump is making right now against the vice president, even though he thinks that she's so effortless to defeat. Well, it doesn't actually align with your actions, Donald, right? You won't commit to debating her. And the polls contradict the things that you say. Your visible nervousness about these things contradict. They belie. They speak of an insecurity. And the truth is, he has every reason to be insecure. So we're going to look at some things. The Economist, the Kamala Harris effect on the polls has been dramatic. The latest surveys point to a tightening race. And of course, it's paywalled. I forgot to log in. But there's Newsweek as well. Kamala Harris now leads Donald Trump in 7 national polls. Kamala Harris is now leading her opponent, Donald Trump, in 7 national polls. The new polls show the presumptive Democratic nominee is leading the former president by between 1 and 4 points. The vice president has her largest lead in a poll conducted by Civics between July 27th and July 30th. Harris is ahead of the Republican presidential nominee in 3 points by a poll by Ledger conducted between July 26th and July 28th. When third-party candidates were included in the poll, Harris's lead over Trump grew to 7 points. Okay. Harris had a smaller lead of 2 points over Trump in 4 other national polls. These include a poll conducted by The Economist and YouGov, where the vice president polled at 46%, a lead within the poll's 3% margin of error. Other polls were conducted by Redfield and Wilton Strategies, Angus Reid, and Florida Atlantic University, and showed Harris leading by 2 points. Again, many of these within the margin of error, not all, but many, which is why I say it's not in the bag. It's entirely possible for the vice president to lose this particular election. But the momentum is on her side. And even in swing states, as Bloomberg reports, the vice president is leading Donald Trump or wipes out his lead in swing states, which are the states, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, but because of the Electoral College, which is affirmative action for Republican politicians, these are the states which electorally matter most. Well, according to Morning Consult, Bloomberg News, very reputable pollsters, Harris is currently leading Trump in swing states. And in terms of election betting odds, which a lot of people predict it and others, a lot of people put a lot of stock in because these are what people are willing to actually put money on, oftentimes substantial money. She is leading now Donald Trump in the election betting odds. So the polls, election betting odds, fundraising. In her first week, she fundraised $200 million. I mean, it's an extraordinary sum, not coming from billionaires, but coming from small-time donors. 66% were not just small grassroots donors; they were first-time donors. 66%, decisive majority. The volunteers. 190,000 volunteers, new volunteers signing up to help her campaign. The celebrity endorsements which are coming, Megan Thee Stallion and others. I would be stunned if Taylor Swift did not eventually come out and publicly endorse the vice president. Listen, Trump has his own advantages, right? Again, he benefits from the asymmetry of expectation. He benefits from a favorable media ecosystem, which is critical as they may seem about Trump. They are inclined to grade him on a curve. They are inclined to use very sanitized headlines and language to describe the terrible things he's said and done. He benefits from the fact that usually elections are referenda on the incumbent. In this case, it would be Vice President Harris because she's part of the Biden-Harris administration. She's the second in command. So he has his own advantages. He also has the right-wing propaganda machine. He also has billionaires like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and David Sachs and others. I mean, Trump is a viable, dangerous candidate. But right now, let's be very clear about this, he has lost the momentum. Even after his assassination attempt, he could barely crack 40% approval rating, and her approval rating is higher than his, according to most polls, and her potential is even higher. Donald Trump is effectively maxed out. The only question is whether or not the vice president can rebuild the anti-Trump coalition and maximize her own potential. If she does, she wins, but that has not been done yet, and the election is 3 months away. But I love the visible denial and waffling that Trump is in on the Fox Propaganda Network, and I don't think it does him any favors whatsoever. Let me know what you think in the comments.